Understanding the anxious avoidant trap, a dysfunctional relationship pattern that creates repeated cycles of conflict. To understand the anxious avoidant trap, we first need to define the two attachment styles involved in this dynamic. A person with anxious attachment craves closeness and connection. They fear abandonment and are hypervigilant to signs of rejection, constantly seeking reassurance from their partner. In contrast, a person with avoidant attachment highly values independence. They fear intimacy, tend to minimize emotions, and create distance when feeling crowded. These attachment styles have their roots in early childhood experiences. Attachment theory explains how our early relationships shape our expectations in adult romantic relationships. When anxious and avoidant attachment styles come together in a relationship, they create a dysfunctional pattern characterized by deeply conflicting needs and expectations. The anxious partner needs closeness and reassurance, which activates the avoidant partner's need for space. The avoidance withdrawal then triggers the anxious partner's fear of abandonment, creating mutual dissatisfaction. This creates what relationship experts call the cycle of pursuit and withdrawal, a predictable pattern that repeats throughout the relationship. The pursue-withdraw cycle typically has four stages: initial pursuit by the anxious partner, initial withdrawal by the avoidant partner, increased pursuit as anxiety escalates, and deepened withdrawal as the avoidant feels suffocated. This pattern often activates psychological dynamics such as the drama triangle, where partners take on roles of victim, persecutor, and rescuer. The anxious partner may feel like a victim, while the avoidant partner may feel persecuted for their need for space. This anxious avoidant trap creates a self-reinforcing cycle that often leads to relationship failure. The pattern continues unless both partners recognize it and work to change their automatic reactions. Anxious attachment style is one of the four main patterns people develop for managing relationships. Anxious attachment is characterized by high anxiety and low avoidance in relationships. People with this style are often called the pursuers because they actively seek closeness and connection. People with anxious attachment typically exhibit several key characteristics. They often have an intense fear of rejection and abandonment. They frequently seek reassurance and validation from their partners. They're hypervigilant to any signs of threat to the relationship. They experience strong emotional reactions when they perceive their partner as distant, and they tend to become preoccupied with their relationships. These anxious attachment patterns often manifest in specific behaviors. Someone with an anxious attachment style might frequently text or call their partner to check in. They may constantly seek reassurance about their partner's feelings. They often overthink their partner's words and actions, looking for hidden meanings. Small disagreements can trigger intense emotional responses, and they may feel anxious or rejected when their partner needs space. This anxious attachment creates a pattern often called the pursuer. When an anxiously attached person senses emotional distance, they experience anxiety. This leads them to pursue connection through various behaviors like calling, texting, or seeking reassurance. Once they receive some validation, they feel temporary relief, but the cycle typically repeats when they sense distance again. The anxious attachment style significantly impacts relationships. The constant need for reassurance may create pressure on partners. The emotional intensity can lead to exhaustion for both people. Paradoxically, anxious behaviors often trigger avoidant responses in partners. The fear of abandonment can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And over time, these dynamics can establish unhealthy relationship patterns. At the core of anxious attachment is a fundamental need for reassurance. While everyone needs validation in relationships, anxiously attached individuals have a particularly strong drive for consistent confirmation of their worth and the relationship's security. Understanding anxious attachment helps us recognize that these behaviors come from genuine fear, not manipulation. This attachment style often develops from early experiences where care was inconsistent. With awareness and support, these patterns can change. Understanding the anxious pursuer pattern is the first step toward healthier relationships. Avoidant attachment style, often called the distancer pattern, is characterized by specific behaviors and emotional tendencies. People with an avoidant attachment style highly value their independence and self sufficiency. They often feel uncomfortable with emotional intimacy and tend to suppress their true feelings and needs. This creates an emotional barrier that helps them maintain their comfort zone of distance. The avoidant attachment style manifests in specific behavioral patterns. These individuals typically avoid deep, vulnerable conversations and tend to withdraw when emotions intensify. They strongly prioritize personal space and alone time, often feeling suffocated in close relationships. Many are reluctant to fully commit, preferring to keep their options open. In real-life relationships, avoidant attachment behaviors might include consistently working late to avoid spending time at home, or changing the subject when their partner tries to share deep feelings. They might frequently find reasons to cancel plans for quality time, and often struggle to say "I love you" or express affection, even when they deeply care. When faced with emotional pressure, people with avoidant attachment develop specific coping mechanisms. They often emotionally shut down during conflict and focus on tasks rather than addressing feelings. They may mentally check out of difficult conversations, appearing present physically but absent emotionally. Another common strategy is deflecting serious topics with humor or changing the subject entirely. Despite their seemingly disinterested exterior, people with avoidant attachment often experience intense internal struggles. They may feel deep anxiety about being controlled or trapped in relationships. Many fear rejection if they show their true vulnerability and experience ongoing conflict between their genuine needs for connection and their drive for independence. They often struggle with guilt about their distancing behaviors. In relationships, people with avoidant attachment often form partnerships with anxious individuals, creating a challenging dynamic. They tend to establish connections that feel comfortable but remain emotionally limited. When others come too close, they instinctively withdraw to reestablish their sense of independence. Many avoidant individuals remain physically present in relationships while becoming emotionally absent. This pattern of distancing when intimacy increases is the hallmark of the avoidant attachment style. The cycle of pursuit and withdrawal is a common pattern in relationships where partners have different attachment styles. When anxious and avoidant attachment styles interact, they create a predictable and self-perpetuating cycle. At its core, this cycle involves the anxious partner pursuing closeness and the avoidant partner withdrawing in response. Let's examine a more detailed view of how this cycle typically unfolds in relationships. This cycle begins with the anxious partner seeking closeness, often through conflict or demands for reassurance. The avoidant partner then withdraws, which intensifies the anxious partner's fears. The pursue-withdraw cycle typically follows four key stages. First, the anxious partner initiates pursuit, seeking reassurance and connection. This triggers the avoidant partner's fear of engulfment, causing them to withdraw to protect their independence. The withdrawal activates the anxious partner's fear of abandonment, intensifying their pursuit behavior. Finally, feeling overwhelmed by the increased demands, the avoidant partner withdraws even further, reinforcing and deepening the cycle. At the core of this cycle are the distinct attachment styles that drive each partner's behavior. Anxious partners have high anxiety about abandonment. They seek reassurance and closeness, and when threatened, they hyperactivate their attachment system, leading to intense pursuit behaviors. Avoidant partners have high avoidance of intimacy. They prioritize independence, and when they feel pressured, they deactivate their attachment system by withdrawing. The cycle becomes self-perpetuating because each partner's behavior confirms the other's deepest fears. The anxious partner's intense pursuit confirms the avoidant partner's fear of being controlled or engulfed. Similarly, the avoidant partner's withdrawal confirms the anxious partner's fear of abandonment. Both responses are actually attempts to regulate emotional safety, but they create the exact scenario each partner fears most. Without intervention, this cycle typically intensifies over time, leading to relationship distress or failure. In contrast to the anxious avoidant trap, secure attachment creates a positive cycle where needs are expressed and met appropriately. This healthy pattern builds trust and emotional security rather than the mutual reinforcement of insecurity seen in the pursue-withdraw cycle. Understanding this cycle is the first step toward breaking it. In subsequent sections, we'll explore how both partners can recognize and interrupt this pattern. Recognizing the pattern in your own relationships is the first step toward change. The anxious avoidant trap creates a distinct cycle in relationships. One partner pursues closeness, while the other distances themselves in response. To determine if you're caught in this pattern, honest self-assessment is crucial. Ask yourself these questions about your relationship dynamics. If you might be the anxious partner, ask yourself, do you constantly seek reassurance from your partner? Are you afraid of being abandoned? Do you feel your partner is emotionally distant? Are you often worried about the state of your relationship? If you might be the avoidant partner, consider, do you feel suffocated by your partner's neediness? Do you withdraw when emotions intensify? Is maintaining independence more important than building intimacy? Do you struggle to discuss relationship issues? In relationships caught in the anxious avoidant trap, you may notice a pattern of emotional distance that both partners find distressing, yet struggle to bridge. Common signs you're caught in the anxious avoidant pattern include repeating the same conflicts, feeling chronically misunderstood by your partner, experiencing unpredictable emotional connection, and having brief periods of closeness followed by distance. Understanding your attachment style is a crucial step in recognizing these patterns. Your early relationships and experiences shape how you connect with romantic partners today. Self-reflection through thoughtful questions allows you to honestly assess your relationship patterns. Remember that recognizing patterns requires objectivity. Both partners contribute to the dynamic. Awareness is the first step to change, and sometimes feedback from trusted friends can provide valuable perspective. Breaking the anxious avoidance cycle requires understanding both yourself and your relationship dynamics. This recurring cycle of pursuit and distance keeps both partners locked in harmful patterns. The first step is recognizing that this cycle needs to be broken. Step 1 is developing self-awareness. This means understanding your own attachment style and how it influences your behavior in relationships. Take time to identify your attachment style, recognize what triggers your anxious or avoidant behaviors, and understand how your past relationships and childhood experiences shape your current responses. Step 2 is developing open and honest communication. Without addressing the cycle directly, partners continue to trigger each other's insecurities. Effective communication means expressing your needs and fears without blame or criticism. Use "I feel" statements rather than accusations. Express your needs clearly and practice listening without immediately defending yourself. Both partners need to be willing to acknowledge the pattern and work together to change it. Breaking free from this cycle isn't something one person can do alone. It requires both partners to recognize the pattern, commit to change, and support each other through the process. This means actively disrupting your automatic responses and creating new patterns of interaction. To summarize, breaking the anxious avoidance cycle requires different approaches depending on your attachment style. Anxious partners need to develop self-soothing techniques, communicate needs clearly, and respect their partner's need for space. Avoidant partners should practice staying engaged during difficult discussions, share their feelings more openly, and communicate before withdrawing. The bridge between these different styles is open, honest communication, and a willingness to understand each other's attachment needs.
When you have an anxious attachment style, learning to self-soothe is essential for breaking the pursuit-withdrawal cycle. These skills will help you manage anxiety and reduce your dependency on external validation from your partner. Here are 5 effective self soothing techniques that can help anxious partners manage their attachment triggers. Sensory grounding exercises engage your 5 senses to anchor you in the present moment when anxiety takes over. Try focusing on what you can see, touch, hear, smell, and taste to shift your attention away from anxious thoughts about your relationship. Journaling is a powerful tool for processing emotions and gaining insight into your attachment patterns. By regularly writing about your feelings and reactions, you can identify patterns in what triggers your anxiety and develop healthier responses. Engaging in hobbies you enjoy helps build a sense of identity and fulfillment outside of your relationship. Meaningful activities can provide a healthy distraction when anxiety strikes, while also boosting your confidence and self-worth. Mindfulness exercises can help you stay present and break the cycle of anxious thoughts. When practiced regularly, mindfulness helps you respond to relationship challenges thoughtfully, rather than reacting from a place of anxiety. As you develop self-soothing skills, you'll be better equipped to build healthier, more interdependent relationships. The goal is to move from anxious dependence to healthy interdependence, where both partners can be vulnerable while maintaining their sense of self. Here are 5 practical tips to help you implement these self-soothing techniques in your daily life. By consistently practicing these self-soothing techniques, you'll gradually become less reactive and more secure in your relationships, helping to break the anxious avoidant trap.
If you have an avoidant attachment style, practicing vulnerability and intimacy may feel challenging. Let's explore some specific strategies to help you connect more deeply with your partner while maintaining your sense of self. The first step is understanding your avoidant tendencies. These often include fear of losing independence, discomfort with expressing emotions, withdrawing when feeling overwhelmed, and difficulty trusting others with your feelings. Start with small steps toward vulnerability. Try sharing one feeling with your partner daily. Express appreciation regularly. Practice staying present during difficult conversations rather than shutting down. And schedule quality time together without distractions. A key challenge for avoidant partners is the fear of engulfment. Remember that intimacy doesn't mean losing yourself. Establish healthy boundaries, communicate your need for space, and practice gradually increasing closeness at a pace that feels comfortable. Practicing emotional expression is crucial. Start with lower risk emotions like gratitude and appreciation. Use I feel statements rather than accusations. Try writing down your feelings before sharing them. And learn to notice when you're shutting down so you can take breaks if needed. Building deeper intimacy involves sharing hopes and dreams, discussing childhood experiences that shaped you, creating rituals of connection, and expressing your needs directly rather than expecting your partner to guess them. As you practice vulnerability, recognize your progress. Celebrate small victories. Notice when you feel less anxious around closeness. Acknowledge when you choose to engage rather than withdraw. And recognize your increased comfort with emotional expression. Remember, vulnerability and independence can coexist. You can be both open with your partner and maintain your sense of self. When the anxious avoidant pattern is deeply ingrained, seeking professional help becomes invaluable. A professional therapist offers multiple benefits. They provide guidance in a safe environment, offer a neutral perspective, and equip couples with evidence-based tools. They help identify underlying patterns and support both partners' emotional needs. Several therapeutic approaches are particularly effective for attachment issues. Emotionally focused therapy helps couples create secure bonds. Attachment-based therapy addresses childhood attachment patterns. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps modify unhelpful thought patterns, while imago relationship therapy focuses on childhood wounds. Therapy helps couples understand and break free from the anxious avoidance cycle. By recognizing these patterns with professional guidance, couples can begin to transform their relationship dynamics. In therapy, couples learn to identify triggers, recognize early signs of the cycle, develop new responses to old patterns, and practice healthier communication skills. Therapy provides tailored support for each partner's attachment style. Anxious partners learn to build self worth, regulate emotions, develop boundaries, and express needs directly. Avoidant partners work on increasing comfort with intimacy, processing past hurts, staying present during emotional discomfort, and communicating their own needs. Therapists often provide workbooks and exercises to help couples continue their work between sessions. These resources offer structured ways to practice new skills and deepen understanding. Remember that breaking the anxious avoidance cycle is absolutely possible with consistent effort, growing self awareness, and professional guidance.